Hi, welcome. Welcome to the second Sunday of the month at Interfaith Community Sanctuary. And I want to invoke the spirit of our departed Congregationalist David Heitmiller, who used to remark when we opened the altar, which contains many sacred scriptures of different traditions, that he would feel the wisdom, the inherent wisdom from all of these scriptures sort of infusing into the room. And indeed, that is exactly what's happening. So, this is our Universal Worship Sunday. We're going to be doing a Universal Worship, and which involves working with scriptures and teachings from a lot of different traditions around our theme for the year and the month, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. I'm going to mention that if you want to donate to this institution, I'm doing this right at the top by request. If you want to donate to this institution, you can do it online. There is a donate button on the web page on our YouTube channel where we're currently live streaming, and there's a big Q code sign at the door. If you just wanted to aim your phone at it, then your phone will make it easy to siphon money between accounts. It's, I don't understand it, but it seems to work. Okay, I think somebody else talks now. I think it's you.
Good morning. My name's Chris, and I'm honored and very pleased to offer the call to our ancestors. I often look to history for inspiration from this, and unfortunately for history, today mostly seems to have been a time of war honoring, and I don't wish to honor that any further. I did notice one other thing, that today in history, Sonny Bono and his singing partner and proud wife for many years, Cher, released I Got You Babe. And while that's a fine song and maybe we could sing it someday, I didn't think it was a good way to honor our ancestors. But I had to mention it. So I looked up other ancestor prayers about peace, and I found this from a person, Vusani by Letang. It seems to be from South Asia. To our uplifted ancestors, guides, fierce protectors, and skilled healers, please come to us today. Be with me in the moment and guide us along our road with a cool head and a clear mind. We are the root of your root, soil of your soil, bone of your bone, and blood of your blood. I have not forgotten my commitment to our lineage, and I vow never to forget. And I pray that together we vow never to forget these promises also. Thank you for that opportunity, and I also thank you for the opportunity to honor our native peoples and acknowledge their contribution to this land here in Ballard, here on what used to be called Baker Street by the settlers. And prior to that, it was the land of the peoples of the Duwamish, also known as the Coast Salish peoples. We acknowledge their contribution and their sacrifices and the way that they held this land sacred. Somehow, the U.S. government has not extended that acknowledgement to the Duwamish. They do acknowledge other native tribes in this area. I hope that someday they are acknowledged as such. You could look at virulentduwamish.org or go to the Longhouse site on Harbor Island, right near on Marginal Way. And as an acknowledgement, I'd like to offer a prayer taught to us by Sissenkle Laurel Boucher. And I place my hand on my heart and gather up all that's human among myself, and gather all that together, and I'll raise it up to the heavens to offer it to Creator. And as Creator may take notice of that, he may or she may place a gift in my hand, and I return that to my core. And together, when we say that prayer, just the simple words, "Oh." So if you wish to join me at home, wish to join me in this room, let's all take a deep breath. Oh. Blessed be. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And it is an honor this morning that I have been asked to present an offering for the Divine Feminine. And I've had that opportunity several times, and I really cherish it because the Divine Feminine is something that's a large part of my spiritual journey, and it's been described in many ways in our services here. And one of the ways that really resonated with me was the whole concept of Sophia, the idea of wisdom. And as Michael was talking about, how with the opening of those doors, this room is filled with the wisdom of the ages. And to me, the Divine Feminine, the Sophia, is many things. Primarily, she was the voice, she continues to be the voice of longing for union with the divine. But not only is she the voice for the longing, she's also the voice of recognition of our oneness with the divine. And going further, she's also the voice that leads me to do the next right thing. And for all that she provides for me, I want to honor her today. And I just happen to have a poem that I have been meditating on now for a while, because it's not an easy poem. But I'm going to offer it as an offering for the Divine Feminine. And it's a poem by Ramprasad Sen, who's a 18th century Bengal poet from India. And he has this poem called "There Is Nothing Left But You." Mother, 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 the longing to lose myself in your reality burns steadily within me. My prayer that all beings turn continuously towards you remains unwavering and unceasing. Yet, my destiny in this human form is coming to an end, and you have not responded. May this be my last breath, O Mother of the universe, with which I call fervently to you. Come now, blissful Mother. Take my soul in your liberating arms of love. The world of convention can never know love. This delirious heart longs to awaken in your realm. Mother, where love is the only reality, After suffering intently along the path of desire, I renounce everything selfish, every craving. After agonizing over the nature of this momentary world, I renounce the drive for satisfaction. After weeping incessantly in fervent prayer, I can weep no more. Holy Mother, my entire being is breaking apart. There is nothing left but you. Thank you.
So now we're going to touch on upcoming gatherings. We've sort of opened a sacred space, and now we're going to talk about the future. So I don't have anything future in my head right now, but maybe you've got something.
Well, next Sunday will be Jamal's service, and we're lucky to have Birgit and Phil come for music. Also, Sunday afternoon, after the service in the evening, there's what's called folk vespers that Birgit and Phil asked us to create for them. And so that evening, we could have some fun. They asked me a couple of things, as will we be upstairs or downstairs? And will there be room for dancing? I said, yes, whatever you want. Upstairs and downstairs, upstairs or downstairs, whatever you want. And yes, we'll make room for dancing. So the other events that are upcoming are on our website. I think I'm only going to talk about these two things. Okay. Well, 2 months from now, right? So 6 weeks? Well, at the end of,
August 26th.
yes,
I was just getting it in the mic.
okay. Would you like to talk about it? So the Interfaith Summit is something we've done for, I think, over 30 years with Northwest Interfaith, and before that it was Interfaith Council of Washington, and it was also Northwest Interfaith. Oh, that's what it is now. It was also some other names that we've worked with and have a yearly summit. And we've had one in this building in the past, and we had like 7 or 8 spiritual leaders from different traditions come. And this time we're working on things that are happening here in Ballard. And so that will be like 10 to 4, possibly. On the 26th, it's a Saturday of August. And our theme is about building beloved community with a consciousness for caring for the earth. It's still being developed, and we're meeting at this point about once a week. If you wanted to join us and help with the planning, please contact us. Thank you.
And tomorrow is Monday, and at 7:30 we'll have our regular Mevlevi Zikr here, which is a movement and chanting practice centered on working with ecstasy in a practical way.
I'd also like to talk about the kirtan that's coming up on the 21st, which is a Friday evening. And Isla is here, and she will be leading that evening. So come if you want to chant, and come if you want to participate in a lovely experience that we're planning. It's coming up very soon.
Okay, is there anything else that anyone wants to mention? Okay. Oh, then I'm giving it back to you.
Oh, thank you very much. So in our order of service, we decided that I could talk about the spiritual discernment for the year. And of course, Michael will be talking in detail about this month's focus. But do you remember what the discernment is for this year? I'll say it for us. It's transforming the body, heart, and mind. And this month we're relaxing the body. But this entire year has been totally filled with each month us doing a focus of this level of transformation. And I'm going to just list those. We began in January about purifying our body. Then we worked on cleansing our heart. And then we worked on observing our mind. And then we worked on refining the body. And then educating the heart. And last month was clarifying the mind. And this month is relaxing the body. And August will be surrendering the heart. September will be dissolving the mind. Finding balance in the body in October. And harmonizing the heart in November. And in December, we will be recreating the mind. And part of this is that whole journey that we embark upon by coming into life and being present and being conscious and allowing the love of the universe to flow through us and for us to transform ourselves on every aspect of our being as we live our life. And as we are growing and living and being more conscious, we have the capacity to do healing, to share with the world this love, this deep essence of life. And that's what we as a community are doing here, is working on being conscious and learning whatever we can that allows us to be that flow of love and teaching in the world. And this is an ancient reality that people of all traditions have focused upon if they're conscious. And if you imagine yourself as an eternal being as opposed as a finite being, you have the capacity to view things in very holistic and healing ways. One of the things I brought for you today, thank you, I need one, is this. This is called the Zen ox herding traditions. And this is a visual description of the process that we all go through. And it's told in the story of a young man taking interest in something and pursuing that interest, and ultimately succeeding at incorporating that interest into their being. And we could study this at great length, but I'm just introducing it now because as we go through the rest of the year, we will go further into this process. And I thought it would be very good. This is half the year of this study. And so by halfway through, we need to kind of know what we're doing. So this may be helpful to you to contemplate as you're working with us on the focus for each month. So Zen ox herding pictures, I guess is what it's called. Years ago, we discussed this one time, and we had images projected up on the wall, so we looked at each picture, and I think it wasn't very clear. So we have time now to contemplate this if we start now. Thank you.
So, to introduce our theme. Our theme, of course, is relaxing the body. We worked on this last week. We talked about different ways of learning with the body and listening, and how important relaxation was to the process of listening and learning. I want to read this quote from Inaya Khan, which we'll read again later, but I wanted to bring it in right now. And it's in the little booklet of offerings. The highest relaxation is to relax the whole being, body in repose, mind at rest, heart at peace. It is that experience which may be called nirvana, the ideal of thinkers and meditative souls. It is that which they want to reach, for in it there is everything. In that condition, each person becomes, for the time, as a drop that is assimilated or submerged in its origin. And being submerged for one moment means that all that belongs to the origin is attracted by this drop, because the origin is the essence of all. The drop has taken from its origin everything it has in life. It is newly charged and has become illuminated again. So this is the sense in which we'll be talking about relaxation. So we're not, in a sense, we're talking about a deeper level of relaxation than we're ordinarily talking about with the body. But it's really not different. It's just deeper. It really is as simple as relaxing. So let's move forward and let's stand up and do the invocation together. Towards the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the
only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance.
To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Hindu religion. To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Buddhist religion. To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Zoroastrian religion. To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Taoist religion. To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the indigenous religions. To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Jewish religion. To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Christian religion. To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the religion of Islam. To the glory of the omniscient God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing all those, whether known or unknown to the world, who have held aloft the light of truth amidst the darkness of human ignorance.
everyone could rise for the first prayer. Praise be to thee, most supreme God, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-pervading, the only being. Take us in thy parental arms. Raise us from the denseness of the earth. Thy beauty do we worship. To thee do we give willing surrender. Most merciful and compassionate God, the idealized Lord of the whole humanity, thee only do we worship, and towards thee alone do we aspire. Open our hearts towards thy beauty. Illuminate our souls with divine light. O thou, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, all-powerful creator, sustainer, judge and forgiver of all our shortcomings. Lord God of the east and of the west, of the worlds above and below, and of the seen and unseen beings, pour upon us thy love and thy light. Give sustenance to our bodies, hearts, and souls. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooses, and guide us on the path of thine own goodness. Draw us closer to thee every moment of our life, until in us be reflected thy grace, thy glory, thy wisdom, thy joy, and thy peace. Amen. You may all be seated.
A reading from the Hindu tradition, Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. The posture should be steady and comfortable in effortless relaxation. Dwell mentally on the endless with utter attention. From that, there is no disturbance from the dualities. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine wisdom.
So this is probably in the current milieu the most quoted verse from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, because it's about asana. And so it's quoted by Hatha Yoga people a lot, because when it says posture should be steady and comfortable, by posture the word is asana. So it applies very directly to yogic practice, Hatha Yoga practice. But they usually leave out this second part, that once you have the posture, then you actually concentrate on a higher level of reality. Dwell mentally on the infinite with utter attention. And then there is no disturbance from dualities. So this is a note we're going to keep hitting, this sense of the non-separateness of these practices. We're kind of dividing these Sundays or these months into working on the body, the heart, and the mind, because there's different weighted practices for different aspects of ourselves. But, we're in the middle of the year now, and it kind of all comes together, especially in this stage we're moving into, which is the third stage of spiritual practice as we're programming it this year. And it's a sense, it represents in some ways an end of striving. You know, it represents, because if we're doing spiritual practices, if we're on a path, if we're working on ourselves, any of these kinds of things, there comes a point where, you know, our practices actually start to bear fruit. And it's a transitional point that a lot of people miss, in a sense, you know, and they keep working just as hard. And, you know, there's stages where the point is to stop working. You know, because not, you know, once you've built a foundation, I'm just, you know, this is just a common sense kind of metaphor, but once you've built a foundation for a building, you don't keep building foundations. You know, you do stuff that's much lighter, you know, that's much more subtle in a way. You know, once you've built the foundation, then you're able to work on a more subtle level. And so this sense of the unity of practice, you know, you will notice that with a lot of these scriptures today, they talk about the body, but the body is not an end in itself, and the body is not just a means to a goal. It's inseparable from the whole practice. This sense of unity with the divine. We're talking about doing it while you're in a body. You know, later we can talk about something else when we're not in the body, but now this is what we're doing. Okay.
A reading from the Buddhist tradition. This is from Kayagata Sati Sutra. The Blessed One said, "And how is mindfulness immersed in the body developed? How is it pursued so as to be of great fruit and great benefit? There is the case where a monk, having gone to the wilderness, to the shade of a tree, or to an empty building, sits down folding his legs crosswise, holding his body erect and setting mindfulness to the fore. Always mindful. He breathes in, mindful, he breathes out. Breathing in long, he discerns, I am breathing in long. Or breathing out long, he discerns, I am breathing out long. Or breathing in short, he discerns, I am breathing in short. Or breathing out short, he discerns, I am breathing out short. He trains himself, I will breathe in, sensitive to the entire body. He trains himself, I will breathe out, sensitive to the entire body. He trains himself, I will breathe in, calming bodily fabrication. He trains himself, I will breathe out, calming bodily fabrication. And as he remains thus heedful, ardent, and resolute, any memories and resolves related to the household life are abandoned. And with their abandoning, his mind gathers and settles inwardly, grows unified and centered. This is how a monk develops mindfulness immersed in the body. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine compassion.
I love this because I love scriptures where they actually tell you what to do. And this sutra is really wonderful. It's online. You could find it by Googling this, and it goes into more very specific meditation practices after this. And this is a great practice. We're not going to do it right now, but just the breath practice that they outline right here is a great practice that I recommend. But what I want to bring out is that this sort of takes us the next step from the, you noticed in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there's this sense of sitting in a relaxed, solid place and becoming mindful. They're saying the same thing here. Sit down, hold your body erect, bring mindfulness to the fore, and then work with the breath. The breath is, there are breath practices in all traditions. The breath is the, you could say, the most unifying force in the body. This is why being aware of your breath is a basic practice in so many traditions. There are some traditions where this is essentially the practice. You know, in the Sufi tradition, one of our teachers, Jalaluddin Loras, I remember saying, we were doing a practice of forgiveness, you know, and saying, "Forgive me, God, forgive me, God, forgive me, God." And we said, "What are we asking for forgiveness for exactly?" And he said, "For every breath you have taken without the awareness of God." And that's it. I mean, this is you could live your life by this one practice, and you would have everything. But one of the things it really brings is how unified all this is. It feels, you know, on one level it's very physical. On the other hand, we all understand that when we're breathing, you can feel energy that is beyond, you know, that is a step more abstract, let's say, than just breathing in oxygen. You know, what they call qi in the East Asian traditions, or ki. This is, you know, it's embodied energy, but it's just a little more abstract. And we feel this, it's easy to just breathe in for a moment and feel the energy of the breath in your body. You know, it's very easy to feel. And if you relax the body, if you pay attention to the breath becomes relaxed. And the effect on every other level of your being is immediate. Because everything is listening. All the levels of your being are listening to each other. It mentions bodily fabrication in this. I will breathe in calming bodily fabrication. There's, in the Buddhist tradition, they talk about 3 kinds of fabrication, which is basically how we create the world around us. And this is not, you know, without getting highly metaphysical about it, this is just the sense that we are all very familiar with of, you know, if we walk around angry, then people are angry at us more, and we create that atmosphere in our world. Works with everything else too, you know, love, peace, whatever. So this is how fabrication is how we create the world around us. There's 3 kinds of fabrication in the Buddhist tradition. I'm only remembering 2 right now. But one of them is bodily fabrication, and one is mental fabrication. You know, we make up stories about the world, right? And then we see the world through the lens of those stories. This is, you know, it's basic psychological work, right? But bodily fabrication is we do the same thing with our breath, with the rhythm of our breath, with the depth of our breath, with the breadth, the broadness of our breath, with the fineness or coarseness of our breath, all of these things literally create the world we're living in. You know, it's like they set the scene for us. It's like they set the stage, and then we are in that. So we have a lever. We have ways of changing. If we want to change the world, we can do it. Okay.
A reading from the Zoroastrian tradition, the Gathas. All holy lives are thine, O Mazda, in truth, all which have been, which are, and which shall be. Thou dost apportion these their reward in keeping with thy love. Raise up the bodily life of humanity to the height of bliss through Vohomana, good mind, Shastra, power, and Asha, truth. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine purity.
So there's not a lot to say about this, I think, because it's very clear. But what I want to point out is we're talking about the spiritual goal here being raising the bodily life to the height of bliss. So this is not about transcending physical reality. This is about unifying all the levels of reality and living in that, from that sense of unity. Okay.
A reading from the Taoist tradition, the Tao Te Ching. When people are born, they are supple, and when they die, they are stiff. When trees are born, they are tender, and when they die, they are brittle. Stiffness is thus a companion of death, flexibility a companion of life. So when an army is strong, it does not prevail. When a tree is strong, it is cut for use. So the stiff and strong are below, the supple and yielding on top. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine way.
I love the Tao Te Ching because it's so direct. And funny. You don't get that in a lot of the translations, but some of them you do. It's really funny. So, yeah, we all know this. When things are alive, they're flexible, and when they're dead, they're stiff. And, you know, looking around the room, I mean, you know, we're all, many of us are past the midpoint of life. And we know this in our bodies, you know. We know that we know what direction we're heading in, and the stiffer we are, the faster we're going, in a general sense. You know, but it's not just true of our bodies. It's also true of our minds. It's also true of our hearts. You know, we develop, and we can forget this. You know, our hearts get covered by our experiences in life. I mean, this is why some of the traditions idealize heartbreak. You know, again, the Sufi tradition is very, and the tantric tradition that our friend George quoted from earlier. There's this sense of heartbreak in the relationship with God, and in our relationships with each other, for sure. Heartbreak is, I want to say necessary. I hate making, like, you know, proclamations about, you know, absolute things, but it's, you know, heartbreak is how our hearts stay flexible. It's how we, there's other ways, but it seems to be one of the most effective of peeling the skin off our hearts. And when I say skin sounds like a healthy thing, but, you know, we often have kind of a, you know, a leathery or even a, you know, hard kind of shell around our hearts, you know, at varying degrees of subtlety. And that doesn't represent what it means to really be alive. And that's, you know, it's good if we can see our suffering, our heart suffering, our heartbreak as a path to openness, you know, and flexibility. What's the Leonard Cohen song? That's where the light gets in, you know, like that. I also want to say something about fear, because, you know, we're talking about relaxing the body. It's not just, you know, to relieve ourselves of, you know, a stressful day. It's really if we have contraction in our body that we don't need, if we're holding ourselves tense or contracted or stiff in a way that is not supportive of our life, it's usually because we're afraid. You know, we've embodied our fear. We don't always feel it as fear, but we embody our defensiveness in muscular contraction. And it really is that simple in a way. If we can really relax our bodies, it's amazing how much our fear can go. You know, and I mean, you could say he's talking about, you know, when people die, they're stiff. When they're firstborn, they're flexible. You know, when we're afraid, we're stiff. When we're in love, we're relaxed.
We read from the indigenous tradition from Richard Wagamese, an Ojibwe native. Sometimes Creator blinks. Sometimes she is not looking at me. Those instances can feel really, really long some days. But what's going on is that Creator is showing her trust in me. She's letting me know that I have the tools to cope with things, that I've learned enough in my walk with her to walk gracefully through these moments when she blinks. And that's when I should blink, too. Close my eyes and breathe. Feel the unceasing current underneath everything. Surrender to it. Then open my eyes again to possibility and walk. That's how I learn to be graceful, full of grace, in the blink of an eye. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine nature.
So this is a perfect example of the stage that we're talking about in the middle of the year here, because it's a sense of what relaxation is for. I also love this because it's like good parenting. You know, it's like sometimes you know, if you're a parent, you know, you have to learn to like not be involved. You have to learn to not hover all the time, right? So I like this sense of God doing this as well with us. And what's significant in this is, for me, is that, okay, you come into this place where you're not feeling the presence of God. God has abandoned you, you know? Do you react with, you know, crying out? Do you react with fear to that kind of state? Because it's a state. It's a state we experience. Oh my heaven, I've been abandoned. I don't feel the presence. And I love that his solution is, oh, just relax. Just close your eyes and return to your source. And again, there's this conjunction of physical relaxation and surrender and awareness of the one. These things are they're not battling, they're supporting each other. Okay. Here.
We read from the Jewish tradition, from the Song of Songs. Your limbs are an orchard of pomegranates and of all luscious fruits, of henna and of nard and saffron, fragrant reed and cinnamon, with all aromatic woods, myrrh and aloes, all the choice perfumes. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine promise.
I love the Song of Songs, not least because just the mere fact of it being there in the middle of Jewish scripture is kind of amazing. You know, when this was written, perfume didn't come in bottles from a store. You know, it wasn't like, you know, perfume, it's not very useful as a spiritual metaphor in some ways anymore, because it's like, it's made through a secret industrial process, and, you know, and comes in heavily branded bottles, you know, stylized according to whatever brand. This is very, very different. This is about flowers and bark and, nard, saffron, henna's a flower, cinnamon is a bark, fragrant reed. What do they call that here? Sweetgrass, right? Yeah, sweetgrass. These are, and it's comparing our body to these, our body to these spiritual resources. They're material. There's the spirit and matter are completely bound up. Just how just smelling certain scents can put you in a state. Yeah, it's they evoke that state. Our bodies do this too. We can. We're not consciously as good as some animals at smelling, but it's mostly because we don't practice. We actually can be as good as a lot of mammals at that sort of thing. But you can, especially with someone that you're close to, you can smell their emotions. You can smell fear on people, and you can smell love. And this sense of the body being like a fragrant tree or a flower, it really works when we're relaxed. When we're tense, we smell different. When we are relaxed and happy, we're like perfume. It's very grounded stuff, but there's a real spiritual lesson there about the difference between fear and love, how we experience those things, in our bodies.
We read from the Christian tradition, from St. Augustine. Thou hast made us for thyself, and we are restless until we find our rest in thee. We offer to thee, omniscient God, our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine self-sacrifice.
So that's a very short and famous quote. But again, it hits this theme of the unity of spiritual and bodily practice. We all want to be relaxed. We all want to be at peace. We all want to be less stressed. The only place where we find ultimate rest is resting in reality. And this gives us hope, gives me hope, because it ratifies my experience, but it also says, if you're relaxing, you're moving towards God. This is where true rest happens. And all of these words we use that we sometimes have a negative reaction to, like submission, they talk about Islam meaning submission. Submission, surrender, all these words, they're all about relaxation. They're about giving up the struggle. Now, life is a struggle. We know life is a struggle. But we create struggle. You know, I mean, there's certain things that require effort in life, but the level of fear and conflict and tension that we bring to it is really a matter of our education. You know, it's what we were brought up to think was normal. But it doesn't have to be normal. You know, we can make a new normal. And that normal can be, what did it say in the Zoroastrian scripture? The bodily life of humanity can raise to the height of bliss through good mind, in other words, clarity and brightness of mind, power, by which they mean our will. We can direct our will to relax. We can direct our will to acceptance. Acceptance of what? Truth. Good mind, power, and truth. And this is words like submission and surrender often, it sounds like we're giving something up. Well, what we're giving up is our tension and our suffering. We can afford to give these up. Okay.
We read from the Islamic tradition, from the Quran. Have we not opened up thy heart and lifted from thee the burden that had weighted so heavily on thy back? And have we not raised thee high in dignity? And behold, with every hardship comes ease. Verily, with every hardship comes ease. Hence, when thou art freed from distress, remain steadfast, and unto thy sustainer turn with love. We offer to thee, omniscient God, our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of divine unity.
So again, this is so clear and in tune with everything we've been reading. But it says again, really what I just said, there is struggle. There's struggle in life, but there is an end to struggle. And we return to source. We return to this primary space, which is of ease. And I like this when it says, when you are freed from distress, when you do experience this sense of ease, remain steadfast in love. Don't lose your focus just because you're not suffering. This is one of the things that's it's really about this kind of transition that we're talking about. Is this that is hitting us mid-year of this transition kind of from striving to non-striving in a way. We have to learn to, in the same way that we have to learn to accept our struggles, we have to learn to accept our ease. We have to learn to accept our the opportunity for the world to just crack open and experience the bliss that is at the heart of reality. We have that opportunity with every breath. I want to do a brief practice just to kind of ground this. So this is a really simple practice, and it works with the muscles around your eyes. The muscles around, you have a lot of little muscles around your eyes and move your eyeballs around. This is one place, one of the chief places in our body where we hold fear. And also in our blood, we hold fear in our blood. There's another practice I'm not going to do right now where you breathe light into your physical heart and let that cleanse your blood of fear. That's a great practice. But what we're going to do now is just keep your eyes open. They can be soft, but keep them open so you can kind of, be attached to the real world, and just feel, kind of move your eyes just like in little kind of motions around and sort of start to feel all the little muscles. Just kind of move your eyes randomly, like Brownian motion. And as you do, feel the muscles that surround your eyeball. Okay, now that we've got that practice, we're going to do that on the inhale. We're not going to do this in unison, just breathe at your own pace. So on the inhale, just kind of make quick, subtle movements with your eyes and be aware of the muscles. And then on the exhale, just let your eyes rest and completely relax those muscles. So let's just do that for a while on the breath. Inhale, move your eyes. Exhale, relax. And now just relax on both the inhale and the exhale, but keep your awareness in your eyes. You could close your eyes now. And feel the breath in the eyes. Amen. Now we're going to have a brief period of silence.
Most gracious Lord, Master, Messiah, and Savior of humanity, we greet thee with all humility. Thou art the first cause and the last effect, the divine light and the spirit of guidance, Alpha and Omega, the light, God, all things, and a loving mother, and a kind father, and an innocent child, and a helpful friend, and an inspiring teacher. Allow us to recognize thee in all thy holy names and forms, as Sita and Ram, as Radha and Krishna, as Shiva and Shakti, as Buddha. Let us know thee as Abraham, as Solomon, as Zarathustra, as White Buffalo Calf Woman, as Moses, as Jesus and as Mary, as Muhammad, and in many other names and forms known and unknown to the world. We adore thy past. Thy presence deeply enlightens our being, and we look for thy blessing in the future. O Messenger, Christ, Nabi, the Rasul of God, thou whose heart constantly reaches forward, thou comest on earth with a message, as a dove from above when Dharma decays, and speak the word that is put into thy mouth. As the light fills the crescent moon, let the star of the divine light shining in thy heart be reflected in the hearts of thy devotees. May the Spirit of God reach far and wide, illuminating and making the whole humanity as one single family in the parenthood of God. Amen.